Thanks for joining our monthly community webcast. I'm Jürgen Kress, part of the Oracle product management team. In case you missed one of our webcasts, on-demand recordings are available. For details, please see our monthly community newsletter and subscribe to our Video Hub partner channel. In today's presentation, Arun and David will introduce an Oracle Intelligent Chat Assistant for PeopleSoft. Good morning, David.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting us to share.
Good afternoon, good evening, Arun.
Hi, everyone.
And with us is also Martin Chavez from the product management team. Hi, Martin.
Hi, Jürgen. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the call today.
Thank you. Objective of today's webcast is to show how to innovate PeopleSoft with a bot. PeopleSoft is an industry-leading, proven functional deep suite of integrated applications that address human capital management. The bot is built based on the Oracle Digital Assistant Conversational AI platform, which can be implemented, customized, and extended by you as a partner. A great opportunity to drive innovation for your PeopleSoft customer base. Please pay attention to the Oracle Safe Harbor statement. Please blog and tweet about Oracle service and functionalities which are available today. We will start the presentation with the latest community updates. David and Arun will introduce PICASO, including a live demo. We will wrap up the presentation with the call to action and answer your questions. So let's get started. Announcements for customers. Please feel free to forward to customers the webcast we recorded on September 18th with the update on Oracle integration. The webcast includes the August release functionality and ERP and supply chain best practices from Deepak and Arun. We distributed the summer edition of the Oracle Integration Customer Newsletter. The quarterly updates highlights the latest events, success stories, white papers, and trainings. Please read the summer edition and subscribe to the newsletter, and feel free to share your success stories, best practices, and blog posts. Last week, we recorded an awesome webcast with a customer in the US called Echo, who provides power tools. It's a wonderful example how a conversational AI can achieve 400% ROI within months. Casey, Scott, and Suhas walk through the presentation and highlight the digital assistants for Oracle Service Cloud. Watch the webcast on demand at bit.ly/EchoODA. The monthly newsletter is available also for our digital assistant customers. Subscribe to it and visit the archive for the latest news. It also includes best practices, events, customer success stories, and hopefully your content. Quick announcements for you as a partner. We continue to offer the hands-on trainings to become an integration expert. The 3-day hands-on training will take place October 19th for EMEA, and it will start October 5th for US and Canada. We also offer now free vouchers for the implementation assessment. For details, please see the community newsletter. In case you can't attend the live training, you can also watch the on-demand version. We launched a new community website with all information, including the newsletter, training, webcast, the YouTube update, the links to our Slack channel, documentation, and much more information. Please register for the community and check out the new pages. For details, see the community newsletter, including the latest news for September on the integration and process side. And on the digital assistant side, we are offering a free hands-on training starting November 9th with a 4-day hands-on training. It will be in Spanish. At the first day, we give you an overview, including live demos. Day 2 and day 3 will be hands-on, and day 4, best practice. For the English version, you can watch the on-demand training. We would like to remind you to make use of Arti. Arti is a digital assistant which answers your chatbot question. Also for today's webinar, check out bit.ly/artibot, and I will post the link in the chat, and you can ask your digital assistant questions Arti. Once you visit the page, click on the logo on the right button, and Arti will start. Arti is also part of the new developer partner community website with the latest information similar to the integration website. Please subscribe to the community newsletter, which includes all information about Digital Assistant, developer tools like Chat and BBCS, and application development. The next webcast will take place October 26 with Grant Ronald on best practices for Digital Assistant. Today's webcast is recorded, and an on-demand version, including slides, will be published at the Video Hub. Please subscribe to the Video Hub to get notified about new versions. With that short introduction, I would like to hand over to you, David. David, thank you for joining.
Thanks a lot. My name is David Bain. I'm Senior Director of Product Strategy. I cover PeopleSoft People Tools area. I'm joined today by Arun Srinivasan. He's a Senior Principal Product Manager. And today we're going to show you or talk to you about PICASO, the digital assistant that we've built in PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft, again, it's hard to believe, but we've been part of Oracle now for I think it's been 15 years. We're part of the Apps Unlimited product line, along with EBS Siebel products like EBS and Siebel JD Edwards. So we're an on-premises application. Our flagship products are HCM, that does the employee payroll, benefits, company directory, that type of information. Also a financial app, the general ledger, accounts receivable, accounts payable. It's financial ERP is also very popular, as is a campus solution. We have a very popular campus solution product. All products are on premises. We continue to maintain the PeopleSoft application. We continue a support pipeline for that, while also encouraging our customers to look at, evaluate, and migrate to the Oracle SaaS applications. Okay, with that, the digital assistants. I probably don't have to tell anybody this. I don't have to tell anybody what's happening with the world of digital assistants, but you can see, Gartner is talking about 70% of office workers will interact with conversational platforms on a daily basis. This was back in 2019 when they said this. 2022 is just a year off. I think we can all agree that with all the digital assistants that we have, whether they're online or whether they're on our desktops, this is probably true. The chatbot market is growing. It's growing significantly. It's a great area to be working in. It's one that we saw in the PeopleSoft. We saw that this was happening, and our applications make a lot of sense for people to be able to pull information out, whether it's payroll information or job information or financial information. It makes a lot of sense to be able to tap into our applications. Also, I don't know what everybody thinks of this. I was probably one of the 26%ers preferring to talk to people until I actually used a chatbot once that was very beneficial. And now I'll tell you, whenever I see a chatbot, that's the first thing I go to get my information. And I think a lot of our customers are thinking the same thing. So what I'd like to do today is I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about our digital assistant, what we've done here in PeopleSoft. I'm going to turn it over then to Arun for a quick demo. He'll give us a demo, show us what the experience is like within our PeopleSoft applications, so you can see it work. And then hooking up an on-premises application to the Oracle Digital Assistant takes a little bit of work, and I'm going to talk about what we did in order to get that to work. We call it the PeopleSoft Chatbot Integration Framework. And then I'll talk about basically and other opportunities, what's out there, what information is out there, and please feel free to ask questions as we go. We'll be monitoring the Q&A as we go, and at the end we'll have time for questions. So the road to our PeopleSoft intelligent interface or digital interface, it took a little bit of time. We started off probably about 2 years ago. We started off on understanding that digital assistants were important, And we targeted one in our HCM product. We built an absence request where somebody could say, I want to take a vacation, or what's my balance. And we also built an e-procurement where we could look at our supply chain application, and e-procurement bot. Those two were the first ones we built. We built those as separate individual skills. We delivered them as files, so we weren't part of the ODA infrastructure with the skill store. We delivered them as files, and we put them into our application really as just think of them as windows that you could launch. So if you wanted to run the absence bot, you could launch it separately. And then if you wanted some information about your orders, you could launch that separately. So they were just basic, very simple skills that were put into the application. As we grew over time, we started adding more. It became apparent, we worked very closely with the ODA team, became apparent that we wanted to get into the skill store. So we were the first ones that were the non-SaaS applications, the non-Fusion bots to get into the skill store. So it took a little bit of work, took a little bit of figuring out how we were going to do the licensing, how we were going to manage the work through the life cycle. But we got ourselves in that, and I'll show you some, I'll talk about that later today. But we got our skills in the skill store, but we were still individual skills that had to be downloaded, right? And run separately. So absence was absence, expenses was expenses, procurement was procurement, so forth. We knew that was a bad experience. It was the first experience that we had. And what we did then is we took all of our skills, put them under this single umbrella, which is PICASO. And that's where we are today with our single interface. PICASO is not the artist, right? It's spelled differently. PICASO stands for the PeopleSoft Intelligent Chat Assistant from Oracle, PICASO. Okay, it is a PeopleSoft specific. It lives in the PeopleSoft application. This is what the icon looks like in order to start it. And it is a single digital interface, and it runs across all PeopleSoft applications. Now, I mentioned PeopleSoft has a campus solutions, has an HR, has a finance. Those are all delivered in separate databases. So when you think about running a single digital assistant with a single user interface, we can access information out of all the different databases with our single assistant. So there was a little bit of a challenge doing that. We'll talk about that as we get into the chatbot architecture. But it is a single interface. This is what PICASO looks like. It's branded the same as our applications. And it provides this, it runs within the PeopleSoft applications, and it provides your information. It's available 24/7 to access information in your applications. Okay, you can ask it questions like what's my balance, vacation balance, where's my pay slip, what's the most recent expense that I had, where's that monitor that I just ordered, what's Sue's phone number or full name, what's a phone number or contact information. So it does a lot of information like that. How does it work? How does it process? Well, PICASO is the digital assistant. It's the single digital assistant. Think of it as the traffic control. So it takes the request, figures out what the request is, and then processes or sends it down to the appropriate skill. So the PICASO, the digital assistant PICASO, is the router that routes into the different skills. We still deliver our skills as modular skills, and we give the customers the ability to either take those skills and customize those, or take those skills and extend them with the toolkit. And additionally, they can add their own skills, they can add their own FAQs, they can customize the bots in any way that they want to. So that's the quick rundown on what PICASO is, what PICASO looks like. I'm going to pause here, and I think it would be a great thing for all of you to be able to see PICASO in action. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to turn it over to Arun. And if Arun's there, you can go ahead and run the demo.
Thank you, David. So let me walk you through the presentation for PICASO. So here I've logged in as manager. So what I'm going to show you is whatever Dave just spoke about. So PICASO is not it's not a chatbot. It's why it's a digital assistant is usually chatbot answer questions only in one area. Whereas since PICASO is a digital assistant, it can answer questions across different pillars. So in this case, you can ask a question from HCM, or you can ask questions from financials, or anything that's that you use on a PeopleSoft, or you can set your own list of questions for PICASO to answer to your audience. So I'm going to come to that in a minute. But here, once I log in, this is how you see the PeopleSoft PICASO greet the user, and then it tells them upfront what it can do for them. And I think by now, most of you will know this is a conversational assistant. That means you can start interacting with it by just typing something, or you can pick from one of these. So let's say I want to go and add an absence. So this, okay, because my session has been running for long. Apologize for that. Sometimes happens. And, yep. So you can also see that I logged in as a manager here. So it opens up because right there at the bottom right, and if you think it's over your screen somewhere, you're free to move it around. So just in case. So let's say I want to add an absence. Perfect. So it comes back and says, okay, when do you think your absence is going to be? So I say this now, it doesn't really worry about my date format, and it takes care of different inputs. But before I go and submit this, now I just have to think about who's going to cover for me when I take this leave, right? So I want to quickly look up Vicky. Let's say if Vicky is available to cover for me that day. So now what you just saw was PICASO breaking the boundaries of typical bots. A typical bot would have just answered questions around your absence area, but now it's abstracted all those functionalities from the user, and it has answered one question from the company directory scope. So now I'm going to quickly look up his contact, and maybe I can call him or write to him to see whether Vicky can cover for me. And then since everything looks good, I don't have to go back and start my absence. You see what happens here? It maintains the context. So it doesn't ask me, or it doesn't if I'm into multiple levels, ODA automatically takes care of slightly unwinding it layer on layer. So here what it recognizes that I started with an absence, and then I went to make sure somebody's going to cover for me, and now it's asking me, oh, you left it there. Would you still like to continue? I said yes. It's just a single day leave, so I'm going to do 5th November. I'm taking a vacation. No, I don't have. So all these are configured. So you don't have to think about answering all these questions. This is all based on how many required fields or how configured your absence input is. I'm saying, okay, yeah, I spoke to Vicky and she will cover for me. Finally, yes. Usually it takes a couple of clicks because you don't really set up so much information, but this is here to show you, what happens when you want to really do. So now we've been focusing on, let's say, the HCM. So now I also want to look at, what happened to my expense report that I submitted for one of my trainings. Oh, it says, it's denied. I want to quickly go have a look. Okay, so my manager said, okay, it's not going to be approved because of some reason. Now I can go and view that in detail. So I'll show you that in a minute, how you can launch an application from within PICASO. But in this case, I'm just going to pass that and then just move on. So this shows you that power of how I started from one pillar, typically in HCM, and then I tried navigating between different features within HCM. Now I totally, I'm out of HCM, but into FSCM. Ideally, this would have taken so many number of clicks using a menu navigation or tile navigation, or people should remember how to go there, how to get there to look up this information. All this, what you saw was within one window. Either you can do it via conversation or click of a button. So before I keep moving on this, let me also show you there are things like you can say something like show my paycheck. So if I'm doing this, tells me, oh, so what it does here is, it just tells me, okay, there are multiple skill areas where you can do a paycheck. So where do you want to go? So in this case, I'm going to specifically say it's my payslip. So I click on that. I don't know if my screen share is showing you the downloadable page. If you're seeing it. Okay, so are you able to see my PDF file that is open?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. Okay, so that's with respect to what the skill can do. So I showed you a couple of things around the skills. So now let's go to something like what we call a Q&A, or frequently asked questions, where ideally your support person in an organization will be answering the same questions coming from different quarters, where the answer might be almost static. So let's take an example of, can I expense COVID tests? So ideally, somebody will be calling your support and then asking the same question again and again, or they have to go to some place in the company intranet, and they have to know that exact spot to go and ask such kind of questions. Or something on the same lines, where in this situation, everyone is like looking for when is the office going to open. So there are questions that come around, can I still work from home, or what is your work from home policy? How many days in a week the office is going to remain open? So you can configure the own response, and it also has links, or however you want that dialogue flow to happen. So this shows you what you've seen until now. Before this was feature-based, feature-based dialog flows, whereas these are something that you can set it up yourself. I will show that in a minute. Any questions until now before I quickly open up the backend? Okay, so let me share my backend. Okay, so you can ask. Okay, so this is the ODA that I opened. The digital assistant that we saw today within PeopleSoft is the PICASO is this one, where it encompasses all these skills. You saw absence, benefits, and within which you can add your own FAQ skill. And let me quickly show you how you can configure that without the help of any developer or any person who needs to be technical. So you don't need a technical person to do this. You can go and add your own FAQ list. And then in this case, I have added something like office related questions, and I can give it its own description. And I can have either a static answer to any of those utterances, or you can also write a dialog flow. It depends on how easy or how complex you want to make it. But all these can be done using this interface here. And ideally, if you want to keep changing a few links or doing anything, so you don't again have to go rely on like a PeopleSoft support person to go and change message catalog text or anything around it. So here you just come in and make the changes, and then point it to your new location or put a new date of your office opening, and you're done. So this shows you the other answer intent, or what we call an FAQ skill that you can add and plug in the digital assistant or have it as a standalone skill as well. Okay, so that's pretty much what I had. Over to you, David.
Great, thanks a lot. And yeah, that was a great demo of the PICASO chatbot, and thanks for showing that FAQ. It's always going to be part of the customer's responsibility when they're implementing our digital assistant to add their own FAQs. We can't answer a lot of the questions that the customers have, right? Like, when our office building's open and things like that, we can't answer those. Having that type of information available and Arun showing how quickly and easily it is, that's part of taking our bots and implementing our bots. We saw, just real quickly, I'll comment, there were a couple of questions about the interaction hub and how do you get this the PeopleSoft digital assistant working across the multiple applications. I'm going to cover that later in this session. And also there was a question about, I think Martin was answering it, a question about can you hook in other backends? And the answer to that is yes. You can hook in other backends, and we'll talk about this as we move on. What I want to cover now is PeopleSoft. The skills that we saw there are delivered in the skills store, in the ODA skills store. So we were kind of the trailblazers in this area for Oracle. Not first in the skills store, but we were the first on-premises application to take skills, build skills, and make them available in the skills store. So thank you to all the ODA folks who worked very hard on building the features and enabling this for us. And if you look in the skills store now, you can see that that there's quite a bit of content for PeopleSoft. You can see the different skills, the benefit assistance, the expense inquiry, and you can also see the PICASO digital assistant here. There's a PICASO employee digital assistant, so you can see those deployed out in the skills store. If you take a little bit closer look at these, you can see that we have our information in the skills a little bit differently than the Fusion applications. We will put the minimum release or minimum required version for our applications right up here in the name. If you're familiar with People Tools, 9.2 is the latest applications, and then the image number comes after it. So that's the features are delivered in images, and the image number comes after. What this is telling you, this is saying that there are application changes that are delivered in image 39, HCM image 39, that must be applied in order to run this skill. That's the way you read that. Now you can have changes from image 40, 41, 42, 43. We haven't delivered those yet, but you can continue to add those, and we won't change this name unless there are some dependencies. Moving down here, you can see there's some requirements here, that the minimum digital assistant platform and then minimum Fusion applications. This is kind of like the little flag that says, we're a little bit different here. We're not a Fusion application. We're the on-premises application. So we leave this blank, and then we put all of our prereqs and all of our requirements in the comments here. You can see that there's a little description of what this is. You'll see that the following changes, the changes that are necessary. You'll see that the minimum tools requirements. This is an important one. PeopleSoft, if you're not familiar with it, PeopleSoft is broken into the applications, which are versioned this way, and then the people tools, which are versioned differently. Current supported versions are 8.5.7, 8.5.8, and 8.5.9, so we have a minimum for each one of those. As versions go out of support, we will start removing those. So eventually 8.5.7 will go out of support, and we will remove that from from one of our minimum tools requirements. You'll also see the application requirements. Now, I mentioned that you'll see that image 39, these are the features in this image. This is an ID, a change ID, it's called the bug ID, that's delivered in this image that needs to be applied. So it's pretty simple to open up one of these skills, look in the skill store, determine what the minimum tools is, what features have to be applied from the releases, and you can take that and apply it and start running with it. There is a little disclaimer down here. I want to make sure everybody understands this, and that is, we'll see later on that you need to license ODA. Right, that's going to be a requirement, and you also need to be current on your PeopleSoft license. So you need to be a current existing licensed PeopleSoft customer in order to run this. Okay. Now, connecting a digital assistant to a backend of PeopleSoft or any on-premises application takes a little bit of work. Right, you need to define the connection between the two. You need to know how you're talking from the application to ODA. That's a channel. You need to be able to define where the channel is and how that channel is set up. That's one. Number two, you need to provide some authorization in the back end. Now, ODA is not going to be a stateful application, so there's no authentication happening at ODA. The authentication is happening inside of PeopleSoft, and then that authentication is passing through ODA to make sure that when you access the PeopleSoft information in the back end, that you're restricted in the data that you can access. So, for instance, I can say, show me my payslip, but I can't say show me Phil's payslip, or I can't get information that I'm not allowed to get. So there needs to be some level of authorization provided. On the back end, we're talking RESTful services between the digital assistant and PeopleSoft. And we made a call here in PeopleSoft that was, if you ever have worked with PeopleSoft and you've worked with the integration layer, we provide integration broker that lets you build either SOAP or REST-based interfaces. And our thinking was that using integration broker as was, and building a RESTful interface as was going to be too time prohibitive to build these digital assistants. So we built a new infrastructure on top of integration broker called the application service framework to make it easier to talk back and forth between PeopleSoft and ODA. And then finally, there's the web client interface that sits on top of PeopleSoft. So all of these things have to be considered, whether you're talking to PeopleSoft or whether you're talking to a different application. We deliver the PeopleSoft Chatbot integration architecture. And there's inside the Chatbot integration architecture, this was first delivered in 8.5.7, I think 05. But since then, in order to support PICASO, we've bumped up the required version numbers. I think you can go back a couple of slides and look at the minimum version required in the skills that we had there, and that would be the minimum version required for PeopleSoft. Essentially, what we are delivering is we deliver the web client UI that's branded with the PeopleSoft applications. That's the first thing. Second is we provide an authorization. We have a built-in authorization capability that you can use. That's optional for you to use. The way that works is we will generate a GUID, right? Basically a user fake user ID, or just a token number. And we will pass it up to Digital Assistant along with the call. When ODA gets that, and we're turning around and we're going to make calls back to PeopleSoft, we'll use that GUID. We'll make a special call back to the application and say, I have this GUID, you passed this GUID, who is it, and that information, authorization information, will be provided back to ODA. So we'll pass it over, and then the call, ODA will ask who this is, and then it'll make a call based upon that user, whoever that user is. Okay, so that's the way that that we provide authorization. That's built in. It can be used. That's an option to use in. We also support OAuth. OAuth can be used the same way. OAuth is going to be, that can be done outside of PeopleSoft. So the authentication happens, and then a token is passed from that authentication to a trusted server and so forth, and it can do the authorization. Both are supported in the current version of the Chatbot integration architecture or PeopleSoft. We deliver configuration pages. Excuse me. So identifying where is it that we are going to make this digital assistant call. So when I'm looking at PICASO, where is PICASO and what channel am I using? We have configuration pages for easy setup. So it doesn't require a developer to go in and hard code that information anywhere. It's very easy to set up. It's very easy to define. And then in the back end, we have server libraries that are deployed out into the node.js. So we have a PeopleSoft library out here that has a standard call that makes it easier for us to do. So for instance, that security that I was talking about, that's built right into this library that is delivered. So you don't have to worry about building that yourself. That's all. It comes delivered, and it comes part of the Chatbot integration architecture. I mentioned the application services framework, ASF. That's built and deployed out on the PeopleSoft side. Essentially, what we are doing, for those familiar with PeopleSoft, is we are using configuration data, or basically metadata, to define the services, and then the services are all built and processed through PeopleCode. So it's instead of large definitions in Integration Broker, we use pre-existing definitions in Integration Broker, use simple configuration data and simple people code to process the requests. And then finally, the last piece of the Chatbot integration architecture is a delivered skill. We do deliver. We'll call it a shell skills. So for those who want to develop and build their own skills, you can use this shell skill to build those. So that's all the investment, right? We have PICASO on the one side, built in ODA, and we have the entire Chatbot integration framework built within PeopleSoft, built and delivered in PeopleSoft on the other side. Okay. I'm going to pause here. There was a question about the Interaction Hub. And I don't have a slide that specifically addresses it, but this Chatbot integration architecture, this is delivered in each one of our different pillars. So all of this capability is delivered in HCM. All of it is delivered in FSCM, the financial supply chain. All is delivered in Campus Solutions, and then the other ancillary, PeopleSoft applications that we have, it's also delivered. In order to run a chatbot in HCM, it needs to be there. In order to run one of our skills, it needs to be there. That's what one of the dependencies in. In order to run a unified chat assistant that can run in one application and can access information from finance, can access information from HCM, it needs to be there. And actually, it needs to be there in both, because it's accessing the pillars. It's using this capability to talk to each one of the different pillars. Any one of the applications can serve as the we'll call it the UI, the front end. So in our applications, we've moved away from the Interaction Hub being required to run a unified access to the applications. unified navigation is now provided in the applications. So I can run my HCM, and I can use my HCM as the portal. Essentially, think of it as the portal in order to pull in additional information from the other pillars. Okay, I'm sure that was confusing for people that aren't familiar with PeopleSoft, but I'm sure people that are familiar with PeopleSoft understood that. Now, the actual interaction hub itself as an application, I mentioned that we've moved away from that. We call it feature complete. We're not enhancing that anymore. We would encourage the customers to use the HCM or the finance applications or campus as the primary means for the chat, putting in the digital assistant. But we are adding this chatbot integration architecture. We are adding it as part of Interaction Hub 13, which will be coming out very soon. So if you are a customer or you have a customer that still uses the Interaction Hub and still is very involved in that, with the new release of Interaction Hub, you'll be able to, we will deploy this entire chatbot integration architecture out to that, to the Interaction Hub. Okay. Ask any other questions about that when we get to the Q&A session. So what does it take to deploy one of these the PICASO? First of all, you need to license digital assistant, right? ODA needs to be licensed. That's a requirement. That's one of the prereqs. Once you license ODA, there is no additional license for the PeopleSoft Skills. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. There's no additional license for the PeopleSoft Skills. That is different than the way that we initially rolled it out. Back when I said we were, we were delivering the files and you put the files in, there was going to be a cost for ODA and there was an additional cost for the skills. Now there's no additional cost for the skills. It's just license ODA. You have two options there. You can license it on a per employee or a named user base, right? So when you think about this, we deliver the HCM applications. So we do have an employee count within the HCM applications. You can license it on a per employee name basis. And there's a certain cost for that, or you can license it on a named user. So if you want your digital assistants available for all employees, which I would suspect the vast majority of PeopleSoft customers would want it on a employee basis, those that aren't doing it just on campus solutions. But I would think that would be the most common. You could do a named user if you had things like just your procurement office was going to use the procurement, or you're only going to roll out digital assistants for your sales department when it comes to the expenses. If you want to limit it that way, you could, but I would suspect that the PeopleSoft customers would go mostly for the per employee. That's one option. The other option is to go the technical route, which is the monthly pay-as-you-go. So per round trip, there's a cost per round trip. PeopleSoft will support either one of those two models. So the customers have the option. They can either go with the per employee named user route, or they can go with the monthly, the just pay as you go. There are a number of customers that it seems that have additional flex credits, and this is a great way to use up or to use those flex credits. Okay, so that's one, get your license for ODA. Number two is pick up your skills, PICASO and the skills from the skills store. I put the slide up there that shows you how to do that. The use of the skills store, I told you that individual skills and the prereqs and so forth are a little bit different than what we have with our Fusion applications. But the actual use of the skill and the ability to use the toolkit to extend the skill, that's all the same. So grab the skills, and extend the skills using the skill store. That's number two. And then the third thing is to configure your digital assistant backend to say this is where the PeopleSoft apps are for each different skill, and then go through and set up, mentioned in the chatbot architecture or chatbot integration architecture, there are configuration pages where you can say these are the channels that I'm using, and this is the details about how the each one of these skills and the digital assistant hook into PeopleSoft. So you go through that piece. So it's pretty simple. Get the license, pick up the skills, start extending them, and then configure your PeopleSoft side and make sure the connectivity is working properly. That's how you get started with the PeopleSoft digital assistants. Where are we in our roadmap? You can see here, this is the list on the HCM side. Absence management, a company directory, benefits to look up, information about your paycheck, look up, and some recruiting bots. These are the skills that we're delivering on the HCM side. And on the finance side, the procurement status for your inquiry and ordering. There's an expense bot that can show the expenses, and you can update your expenses to the wallet on the back end. There's a supplier self-service which goes outside of PeopleSoft, which is meant to help suppliers on the outside of PeopleSoft. Service request, a financial snapshot, and a customer service. These are the actual what's available now, and the actual delivery of these will change, or when they're available. The best thing to do is to keep up to date with the PeopleSoftInfo.com, the information portal. That'll tell you what's available now, and then you can go to the planned features and enhancements for the application pages, and that will tell you what is coming, what changes there are to the bots, and what is specifically available in the bots, and when new skills will be delivered. So to kind of wrap it up, to summarize where we are with this, again, an ODA license is required. You can either use the application ODA for SaaS applications, or you can use the flex credits or the pay as you go. Those are both options for the PeopleSoft customer. When you do get the ODA platform, that gives customers the right to use it. That is a full-on ODA license, right? So you're not licensing it for PeopleSoft. That is a full ODA license. So you have the rights to PeopleSoft Skills with no additional cost, and you have the rights to tap into any additional applications that the customer has. Okay, so this is important, right? When you do license ODA, you're licensing the full ODA license with PeopleSoft. So there is no limited use ODA license for these PeopleSoft skills. It is a full license. So they can add it to any applications that they have, tap into any applications they have, and extend it in any way, extend it like we saw with the FAQs and any additional things. Okay, there's no additional cost. I've said this, I think, 3 times now. Remember, there was at the start, there are no additional costs for the PeopleSoft skills in the skills stores. And again, our skills in the skills store, although we keep the information and the requirements and the dependencies are a little bit different, the extending the skills is you have the same capabilities as you do with the SaaS applications. You can get more information from PeopleSoftInfo.com. There's a key concept page out there with under the tools and frameworks information, the PeopleSoft chatbots here, that'll give you the minimum requirements. It'll answer your questions. It'll point you to install guides, to developer guides. It'll give you a lot of information that you need to run your digital assistant. There's tremendous opportunities out there for partners. Remember at the start of this, we talked about the growing need for digital assistants. That's one. And number 2, we've also kind of talked about how there's a tremendous amount of information in the PeopleSoft applications that's of value for customers. So being able to get that information out through chatbots or through digital assistants is very important. And then finally, there's this call to action. Join the developer and past partner community. There's some information here where you can go for PICASO, for ODA, digital assistant, and for the partner community. And with that, I'm going to pause here, and I will turn it over. And at the same time, I'll start looking at the Q&As and see if there are any questions that we can answer.
David, thank you very much for the excellent presentation.
Okay, let me. Sorry to interrupt. Let me go through these questions here real quick.
Martin is reading some of them out in a minute.
Okay, go ahead, Martin.
Are we ready?
Sorry.
You're wrapping up, Jürgen, or should we move into Q&A?
Okay, let's go. Yep.
Go
okay, so the top questions come out, and a couple of people have liked it, so I'm guessing it's from a few people. Suresh has written it. It says, will ODA work in on-premise PeopleSoft application, or has it to be an OCI? So obviously ODA runs in OCI, but what about connecting to PeopleSoft on-premise?
Right. So you can run it with an on-premises application. You can run it with PeopleSoft deployed in OCI. So you don't have to deploy PeopleSoft in OCI. No part of PeopleSoft has to be in OCI. ODA will run, of course, in OCI, but you can run PeopleSoft on-premise. That part of the configuration part is what's hooking up, is what is connecting your on-premises application to ODA, and that's going through that channel. And part of what we've done with the authorization, part of that look back, that good look back, is accounting for the fact that the application might be on premises and is communicating over a channel to ODA in the back end. So yes, you can.
Awesome. Another question from Gert Vermeyen, which is, which languages are supported in PICASO?
Well, that's a good question. Arun, are you up to date on the languages that we support in PICASO right now? I don't want to mislead.
Okay,
anybody.
so right now can you hear me, Dave?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so right now we are working on it. So what we do is you can either use the resource bundle, or that's the way we like to somewhat bridge the gap between those translations at the moment. But I know the ODA team is working on multiple language support, which the PeopleSoft team is going to look at, and so we will. So I don't know the definite time frame, but sometime in the near future, we should start supporting more languages as an ODA supports. Okay. So right now, you can do it through resource bundle.
So you can do it through. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I'll add to that. Then from the ODA platform side, what the PICASO will rely on is that we currently have two ways of doing it. One is through our native translation capability, our native multilingual capability. So in there we support Arabic, Dutch, English, French, German, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish. But if we don't support one of the languages you want natively, then we do support translation services like Google Translate or Microsoft Bing. And so you can basically support any language that those translation services do. And then coupled with what Arun was just saying, we use things like resource bundles so that you can output in whatever language you want using the phraseology you want. So that's how we end up with a multilingual bot in multiple languages. Right, next question. Unless anybody else got anything else on languages? Graham was asking, do we recommend customers have an ODA instance for non-prod environments and other ODA instance for production? David, have you got a view on that? I can give an ODA view. But
why don't you give the ODA view?
Okay, so with digital assistant, depending on David just talked about the different subscription models. The digital assistant platform for SaaS actually gives you the entitlement for 3 environments. Dev, test, and production would be the most logical. With the technology one, where you're using universal credits and flex, you're actually paying by request, but we still recommend that you have at least 2 environments, a test or a development and your production environment. and we organize the way in which the pricing for that works to make that attractive to you. And the reason for that is that when we roll out upgrades to the digital assistant platform, we always try to do all the development instances first. So you get a good couple of weeks between your development instance and your production instance being upgraded. So it gives you a little bit extra time for testing and preparing for that change. So one more, I think, is particularly on PICASO, is from Joe Randalls, asking that I expect organizations would want to offer the ability for employees to create a case. How would this work in, say, help desk for HR?
So I'm trying to think this one through. So they would want to be able to create a case with a digital assistant. In that case, I don't think that there is a digital assistant for that at the time. If that could either be something that you would add to the your custom skill, so that employees could create cases through the digital assistant, or that could be something that would eventually get onto our roadmap.
It sounds like a good requirement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm out of questions on the list. If anybody's got any more questions, feel free to type them in on the Q&A. We've got a few extra minutes where we can take a few more.
David, can I share my screen, please? Oops, wonderful. Then I can wrap up, and if you have questions, you can still post them, and we come back to the Q&A in a second. So if you're not yet a member in the partner communities, please make sure that you register. As part of the developer partner community, you get all of the information. Visit the PICASO website to learn more about the bot for PeopleSoft. And if you want to try it, you can go to the free trial program at cloud.oracle.com/try-it. There you get an Oracle Cloud infrastructure, and that includes Oracle Digital Assistant. For more information about Digital Assistant, please visit oracle.com/chatbots. We offer the on-demand training in English, and we do offer the upcoming Spanish training. If you have questions about Oracle Digital Assistants, feel free to visit the documentation page and ask Arti. Today's webcast was recorded and will be published at the Oracle Video Hub. For further questions, you can use the community Slack channel or visit the community website. Martin, do we have more questions?
There is one more that snuck in on the chat from Alan Hayes. Was Employee Directory Assistant recently added to PICASO as of PUM 39 or PUM 39? How would you say that?
PUM 39.
Right, PUM 39.
I don't know exactly what the dependencies are. I don't know if it's 39. I would think that it is. I would think that I know that the Employee Directory Assistant was added. Arun, do you know what the dependency is? Is this PUM 39? We might have lost Arun.
No, I don't have it handy.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
looking at it as we're speaking.
Okay, looking it up.
So thank you very much, Arun and David, for presenting PICASO. It's a wonderful opportunity for partners to showcase innovation to PeopleSoft installed base customers with a machine learning chatbot. If you would like to learn more, and please try it, it's also a great opportunity for you as a partner to implement, customize, and extend it, so to generate additional service revenue. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. Thank you, Martin, for the nice Q&A, and thanks for attending today's webcast.